So this is what happens when toddlers crash your podcast after dark. You want to say hi?
Michael. I love you.
Aww.
I love you. Oh, I'm it. We can't really play tag.
Okay. So I guess we'll put the children
Now
back
she
to
can do
bed.
math. Greetings and/or salutations, and welcome to Imbibe Cinema. I'm Jonathan C. Leggett, along with my co-hosts,
Michael Nowens.
Trisha Leggett.
In this episode, we're going to be discussing Michael Showalter's The Big Sick, which is currently available on Prime Video, while imbibing a drink called the Coma Shot, which is oddly enough not a shot. But the recipe, as well as some pictures, can be found on our website, which is imbibecinema.com. The Imbibe Cinema podcast is brought to you by the Blue Whiskey Independent Film Festival, otherwise known as BWIF. Our festival seeks independent, character-driven films of all lengths, styles, and genres. To learn more, please visit us at bwiff.com. That is, again, BWIFF.com. So I'm not going to lie. This is honestly probably one of my favorites that we've had to review already.
Really?
Yeah, I'd actually seen this movie before it went on our list, and I loved it then, and I was even more excited to get to watch it again.
Awesome.
This story is absolutely adorable, and it's even more interesting because it's true. And I'm
Based
sure
on true events.
Based on true events. Now, I'm sure that some of the dialogue was embellished. And again, we just saw a quick interview with Emily V. Gordon, and the fact that each of them kind of remembered the events a little bit differently because obviously they're married. But the cast and the crew.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
interrupt because that's what married people do. And tell you that anybody out there who is not married and is perfectly in sync with their significant other, and it's like you finish each other's sentences, you know exactly the inner soul of the other being.
Don't get married?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
Once you get married, it's like a switch is flipped and you will never remember. You can love each other all you want. You will never remember anything the same way again. It will always be like you were at two different events.
No,
It
I
was
don't think that's
raining, it was
necessarily-
sunny. Oh, yeah. See what I'm talking about right now?
Well played.
We
Yep.
will never, ever, ever remember anything again. And
Well, no, you'll
Not the same
remember
way.
things. It's just not the same way.
Just not the same way.
If you don't remember anything ever again,
Yeah.
that's a different conversation.
Yeah, like the ice
Sorry.
capades.
right. That's what I meant to say. So, yeah. Word of warning.
Also, I would argue that you didn't remember things the same way
No,
beforehand.
no,
You
we
just
did.
were
We
bliss.
did. We
Sure.
did not. We did not have the. Maybe we did, or maybe we just didn't.
I don't think
go,
you
Wait a
remember
minute.
it quite the same way.
No, I also thought that I was getting old, and that's why, like, drinking when you're young, you drink, and then you're like, wow, I'm having a fun time and have all this energy. And then when you, like, I figure, well, you get older, you drink, and you're like, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed. And a friend of mine was like, that isn't the age, that's marriage.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
Well, I get tired when I drink, and I'm not married yet. So what does it say about me?
you're old.
Happy,
Aw,
happy
thanks.
relationship.
Yes. If you're fully
Happy
sat-
relationship
very
is
happy.
just like
Yeah.
marriage.
Yes, if you're
'Cause
fully
marriage is
satisfied
a
in your
happy
relationship, if you feel like you're in a safe space, alcohol just
There
makes
you
you
go.
tired.
It's true. Yeah, you don't have to have that party vibe anymore.
Catherine does
Who is
ask me
tired
though
talking about it?
often if I'm like if I want to go partying. Do I want to go unsing? That's a particular
She
question.
says once.
Do you want to go unsing? And I'm like, not really. And she's like, I don't know. You're dancing in the car, so I think you want to go unsing.
Dancing in the car is completely different than unsing.
Car dancing is a time-honored tradition
Same.
in our family.
It's a gateway to unsing.
No,
It's a
it's the
gateway
only way
drug to
any of us
unsing.
look really cool dancing is in the car.
Hey.
I said my family, not yours.
Oh,
Oh, okay. You're safe,
I
John.
don't know if my family necessarily.
Well,
And I'm,
John's got this covered,
yeah, I dance like no one's watching.
I know.
and we're all watching.
And you make sure of it, too.
That
So,
everyone's watching.
yes.
Well, yeah, life of the party.
Sorry, we interrupted you because you were talking about how much you love this movie. And then we were just like, all right, enough of that. We want to
Well,
talk.
no.
Let's run this over with a
Right, but
train.
speaking of arguing over the same thing, no.
She's still on the same track.
So where were we?
Your
Oh, yeah.
point.
My voice. So tired. Okay, so the point is, I had been reading about the making of this movie and how, yes, part of it is based on their relationship and their courtship. A lot of it is not. For instance, the subplot about her parents and their relationship.
Oh, okay.
It was a suggestion of the producer Judd Apatow, and so it was kind of awkward for Emily to explain that to her parents. So we're all like, "Wait a minute, what now?"
No.
Hopefully that
that's
was a
fair.
conversation that happened beforehand.
Yes, and then
What about
also
his
I
family?
read also I had read that his family never considered disowning him. Spoiler alert, and they. When she was sick and he, told his mother everything, she was primarily concerned that Emily would be okay and everything. And she was very sympathetic and understanding until Emily was healthy. And then she was like, wait a minute, why are you dating a white lady?
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that there is still a little bit of that's real.
Well, yes.
Gotcha.
That is inherent in the culture. I think that
sure.
was, yeah.
Well,
But
and-
sure, but
yeah.
not necessarily, not necessarily throughout the whole culture. There's always an exception to the rule.
Oh, you know,
Well, and-
especially if they're
and it's
living,
nice to
if they're living here and they're embracing,
the American
um,
culture.
the American culture, and we are a giant melting pot.
Yep.
And some people
Melt more.
Right.
melt more.
well, and also
Some people melt with us.
it wouldn't I have to bring up my mother because now it is tradition. My mother would tell you that when she was growing up, that everything was neighborhooded by background. The Italians, the Irish, the Polish, everybody had their own thing. And back then, if you cross the street, if you were dating outside, it was still kind of like, what is going on? That's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not that long ago. And we are the melting pot. So it's, I think it's something that everybody can relate to as far as family goes. Maybe whether it's religion, dating outside of religion that your family is strongly adhering to, or the culture. I think it's something that all families have tradition in a way. And I think that resonates.
I actually found it funny because I just saw an interview with Paul Rudd, who
Was not in
specifically-
this movie.
Was
but-
not in this movie.
But it's important we
but
hear his thoughts.
Wow.
What? Because
There
he's
was an
Paul's
edge to that
dad.
shit, wasn't there? There's like,
This is what lack of sleep.
no,
does
congratulations,
to you.
John. I've just derailed this for the last 15 minutes. However, you have a point now about
What?
Paul Rudd. who is
No, I love
absolutely-
Paul Rudd.
Well, I know, but there was
No,
an
that's
edge to
what-
that.
I didn't mean it. I was trying to be funny. I guess I
Well, you're
forced it.
funny. Anyway, so I heard this thing from Paul Rudd, who is doing one of those like spicy buffalo or spicy hot sauce interviews or whatever,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
is another type of
Oh,
podcast.
Okay.
But specifically, apparently, he and I don't necessarily know the full details around it, which parent it was, but apparently one of his parental units is British. And so he would have like scones and crumpets and tea. Like that was a ritual in his house daily. And
Afternoon tea.
while he technically knew that nobody else in his neighborhood was doing the exact same thing, it was his tradition. It was a family tradition.
That's why he doesn't age.
It's true. He's
That
Benjamin
after-
Buttoning.
It's that afternoon tea.
Yeah.
He's Benjamin Buttoning, so he's actually getting younger.
Yeah.
Does he look younger
He's-
now than he
okay,
did
well,
in
actually,
Overnight Delivery?
You're right. I think actually he's Dorian Graying. I think he's got a
Oh.
painted portrait somewhere.
What film are we talking about?
That the cast and crew of The Big Sick did an amazing job of keeping bringing the script to life and really keeping what feels unbelievable in a real event story. Just really, really good.
Yeah. Well,
Amazing ride.
very, very real. I mean, that was my feeling well, watching it a first time and then on a second time, I felt like every scene, as ridiculous as it got, I felt like we were in a very, very real moment.
Yeah.
One of the things that's kind of great about life is, when things are really sad, sometimes, humor is the best
Yep.
way to cope.
Yeah.
And I know in our family, we have had those moments. Trisha and my grandfather, when we were at his wake, there was a particularly funny moment that happened.
Well, okay. So a
And-
little background.
Okay, Trisha's gonna.
I'm just gonna
break
go
this
there.
Down.
Yeah, you
Jen,
can
you
edit
know
it
the
out.
story.
All right. So my grandfathers, they had like a grumpy old men relationship. Like,
Yes.
Walter Matthau.
and Jack Lemmon.
Oh, yes.
There was this cute little repartee that they
Yes,
had.
absolutely.
And one of their things that they would do was every time they got to a doorway at the same time, Al would always say, "Age before beauty," because he wanted to point out Bob is older than Al is. And he's never going to let that go. You're older than me. I am a youngin' compared to you. And so, of course, Al dies first. And God rest his soul.
Yes.
And so Grandpa Bob is the last. He is the survivor. The older man is still around and mostly deaf, but when he wants to be, basically.
Selective hearing.
Exactly. And may we all be so lucky in our old age.
Mhm.
But anyway, so in the beginning, the master director, whatever, the funeral director gets up and he says, "Good morning." And, a lot of people go to church. They kind of like respond in a solemn good morning, out of like protocol response. And so they do. And my mostly deaf grandfather is like, "Hi."
It was
And
the
he's-
highest pitch I've ever heard him.
And
it
he
was,
was
more of
so
like a,
chipper.
"Hi."
Like, I'm still here. I win.
So with that, Trisha and I just uncontrollably start laughing because we're on the verge already. We're so and that emotional like teetering that you're at on in those moments. So when that happened, it just sent us to this bizarre place where we just started laughing.
Mostly shaking. Right.
Exactly, and mostly because we're trying to not laugh. To make things even worse is, I think it was one of our aunts who is sitting behind us and just reaches forward and puts their hand on our back.
Because from that point of view, you just see people shaking. You assume they're crying.
Right.
We're not.
We're not. We're just laughing. And so it was an interesting moment because it was so funny and so sad at the exact same time.
At the
And
same
so
time, yeah.
watching this movie, it made me think about that because of the way that they go back and forth
Mhm.
with the heavy material, the
Right.
heavy sadness of the
Well-
material and humor.
Here's the thing: everybody grieves differently. Obviously, there are stages of grief, and
I
we could
agree
get
with
into a
Wood.
whole other discussion on how long it takes you to get through them, but we won't. I am gonna circle back and say that I had read that the director had said, a lot of times you need humor.
Mhm.
I'm paraphrasing terribly, but humor to get through some of the darkest things. And if you look at any serious drama that has ever really moved you, there are moments that make you laugh because it's human nature at some point to just start laughing in the absurd, in the dark. That can be one of the worst moments of your life. So I think it felt so honest in that respect. And it's a beautiful, I know they improvised quite a bit. And on set they had talked about that. And then also Holly Hunter did some strange stuff. Like she
Doesn't surprise me.
she moved props around because that made her feel like she was more in character.
Mhm.
She also made sure that her daughter and her, Zoe, who played Emily, and her both had the same necklace because she felt their relationship would be closer like that. This is not the
Okay.
strange stuff. I guess it's not that strange. But they did evidently the heckle scene where
Oh, yeah.
Holly Hunter heckles the
The
heckler.
heckler, yeah.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
The bro who,
Yeah. Yeah, who calls him a terrorist. Go
Yeah.
back to ISIS. And she's like, what are you recruiting? You're an
Yeah.
ISIS recruiter? What are you
Yeah.
telling him to go back? You're trying to get the numbers up. What's wrong with you? And so in that, evidently that scene, which is beautiful, and you can tell here's this woman who is just stressed, and she's hurting, and she's angry because her baby is hurt, and there's nothing she can do, and she's going to take it out on anybody who is, going to give her a reason.
Sure.
And you can totally tell that's where this rage is coming from. It's coming from the helplessness of fear and grief of not being able to protect your baby.
So at least from the story standpoint, I like, as you had mentioned, like the differences that they gave, that Judd Apatow, as a producer, had kind of, helped steer some of the direction of the stories, specifically around the families. But I do love Kumail's family and the dynamic that he has with them and everything they've got going on there. And how he's able to have like these wonderful relationship conversations with his brother. But at the same time, even he knows, at some point he needs to start, straighten up and fly right. But he doesn't want to because he's fully inundated in the American culture.
But if you think about it, you're always more comfortable talking to your siblings about things that you're not doing that your parents expect you to be doing.
But at the same time, the last scene that we see with his parents is he is literally leaving to go to New York. He is decided to go take his comedy to that next level and really try to break it out. And again, they're upset with him for dating a white girl. His father's the one who gets out of the car. His mother won't even look at him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm so happy that for the time you were my son.
Yeah.
What was the line? It was something to the effect that like it was great to have had you as a son.
You were a great son.
You were
it's
a
good
great
to have
son.
you as one.
Yeah. Your mother made this for you. It's
your favorite.
It's your favorite. But she's really upset. She's not going to look at you.
Right. It was like I will never see you again.
Yeah.
It's nice seeing you. Goodbye forever. Text us when you get in, because no matter how angry you are as a parent, you're still a parent, and that's one of the things that I think you have this great love story. Is what this is, right? It's a rom-com. It's a different kind of rom-com, but it's a rom-com. And what I loved about this is this added what it is to be a parent into it, and how that trumps everything. And you look at through Emily's parents and what they're going through in their relationship, and how they deal with Emily's illness, and how it kind of brings them together when they're not really together at that point. And then you look at his family and how they are united-ish in a front, but they and one of the things that I do really love is that he goes back in and he says, I'm not going to accept you kicking me out of the family, because this isn't the first instance in which a family member in his extended family hasn't been kicked out for
the story,
for leaving. Leaving what is traditionally accepted in their family. The fact that he's like, I reject your rejection, and so there.
It must be a unanimous vote, and I have a vote.
And I think sometimes that's what is needed for a family to not to not step away. And then a lot of the like I said, a lot of the parent moments where Holly Hunter makes these calls about what she thinks is the best medical care for her daughter, and Ray Romano and all his notes.
Yeah.
About all the different.
How do you spell that?
Oh my God, you can't spell half the words they give you.
That's true.
And how they're always looking up and always doing research, and so forth. And the fact that she makes the call to move Emily, and he doesn't think it's the right thing for her to do, and neither does Ray Romano. And yet, when she gets called on it, that it could be dangerous. Holly Hunter's response is, I'm always going to be responsible. We're her parents. That's what we do. No matter what, the responsibility is on us. So even if we make the wrong call, we know that. We live with that. That's what being a parent is. And it's terrifying.
One of my favorite, I guess, awkward moments was when Ray Romano and Holly Hunter's character come back to the apartment for the first time with him. Just everything that happened, I thought was so. I guess I was watching, kind of going, "What's going to happen?
Oh yeah.
Where are we going with this?"
The-
And the scene just keeps going.
Yeah,
It
I
keeps
almost-
ha-
I almost to a degree hope that there's a sign of honesty in the fact that he goes and excuses himself real quick to hide all of her drug paraphernalia.
Yes.
Like,
I'm just gonna go straighten up her room.
yeah,
And even like we're watching it, and John's like, "What a good guy."
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? I mean, like because that yeah,
It's not something
you
that
know
they're-
you
yeah.
know she would have been trying to hide any bongs or anything that she had, and like
Sure.
that's a good boyfriend who's not actually a boyfriend. At that point.
Yeah.
As the viewer, you kind of at least identify with his position, and you just feel like, I need to get out of this room. Like, I don't want to be here right now. This is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that he stays for any length of time is, to me, very impressive.
Yep.
But then Ray Romano's like, "Oh, this book. I gave her this book. No,
I gave her that book.
No, I
No,
gave
read
her the
the-
book. I give her things too. Read the inscription." Well, that doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth. And then I found out later that the book in question is actually the director's mother wrote that book. That's his mother's book.
Oh.
Yeah, I really like the chemistry between the two leads. I think part of that obviously is like the dialogue is just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I know there are things that about Emily's character, considering she spends so much of it unconscious,
Right.
that you kind of fall in love with her as an audience member.
Mm-hmm.
And like he falls in love with her, you fall in love with her because she's just adorable. And the beginning, before she ends up in a coma, it's so important for the audience, I think, to connect and to just find her amazing. That
Mhm.
while she's missing, you feel that intense kind of concern that everybody else is in caring for her. She has these great moments, like where she gets under the sheet to get dressed. And it's like, I saw you naked a minute ago, but we were in the throes of passion. It's different. I'm not
Got
going to,
some quirkiness to it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a beautiful film.
It really
It
is.
really is.
We're going to take a few more minutes to fill our glass with the coma shot, which I have lovingly likened to a banana runt that is an alcoholic.
If you like sugar in liquor form,
Yeah, I
This is
think it's a
great.
diabetic coma
yep.
because I'm about to go into diabetic shock
Again,
again. What?
for second act.
Oh, good point. Get ready to imbibe more after this.
Hey there, listener. This is Michael with Imbibe Cinema and the Blue Whiskey Independent Film Festival. Did you know that Imbibe Cinema isn't just a podcast? We've also got a variety of articles and reviews available to read on our website, plus a streaming membership that gives you access to a new batch of independent films every month. Become an Imbibe Cinema member today at watch.imbibecinema.com. That's watch.imbibecinema.com. Thanks for supporting and imbibing the various content we offer. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to Imbibe Cinema. I'm Jonathan C. Leggett, and I'm along here with,
Michael Lewis.
Trisha Leggett.
and we are discussing The Big Sick. Enjoying this podcast? Rate and or leave us a review or help our show reach that larger audience. Before the break, we actually did a lot of discussion on story. This was written by Kumail and his wife, Emily B. Jordan. This is their love story. Obviously, some of the
And-
items that were changed to protect the innocent.
Right, but his character's name is his name,
Yes.
and her character's name is changed
her
from Gordon to Gardner. And we've already established that some of what the story tells us in the film didn't actually happen with them, but her illness did. John had said very beginning of the podcast how incredible this film was and how it was one of his favorites, and we'd seen it before, thinking to put it on the podcast. And so we had to watch it again. And I kicked myself for not taking notes. I was like, oh, this is a movie I wanted to take notes during. Because there's some movies I think I want to take notes more than others. and it's this is it's like one of my favorites. I mean, just such a beautiful, beautiful movie, and I'm just so lucky that I got to see it. It was so good.
Mm-hmm. This film, from like an editing standpoint, is very choppy in a really good way. You know, you almost kind of don't know when we're going to cut to the next thing. We kind of jump around. There's like a feel to each scene, to each beat, to each character interaction, and so it's interesting how sometimes it'll move quite quickly through things, and sometimes we'll hang into a scene much longer than most. Almost it's like we lean into the awkwardness. Yeah.
Right, because when you're having a good time, when they're clicking and there's the romance, and when we see his career moving forward, it's all fast paced because when things are happy, when things are going well, everything kind of flies by.
Yeah.
And then when something goes wrong, then it's like time stops.
Yeah.
Everything just stands still.
And then the most uncomfortable thing is it's not moving forward.
Yeah.
That I didn't think about that, but that is awesome.
Yeah, the awkward moments, specifically when he is in the hospital with her parents, and they know that they're not an item anymore. That and why is he still there? Just the belated pauses that they can do.
Well, and Holly Hunter cuts him to the quick, real fast, right off the bat. It's like, why are you here? Why are you hurt her? Why are you here? Go away. I will kill you. Pretty much.
She's vicious.
Yeah.
Well, she's a mother, right? She's protective. And I love how Ray Romano is, because there's always that good cop, bad cop in a parent relationship, right? Where there's the one parent who's like, I need to see 3 forms of ID, and nobody will know where the body is if you screw this up. And there's the other parent who's like, hey, nice to meet you. Why don't you come in? I'll have a drink. Can I get you anything?
Yeah, he could sit with us. You want to come sit eat your lunch with us?
So great.
It's a free country. He can sit wherever he
Yeah.
wants. The actor who played his father, he reached out directly
Yeah, Anupam.
to him to ask him to be in the film. And I believe he's the only other actor that is Pakistani. Everybody else is Indian that plays part of his family.
Oh, okay.
So, fun fact.
He was amazing in Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
You look at his IMDb page, and there's just too much to name.
Oh, yeah.
He's a busy
He's
man.
so funny, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like it's the dry delivery. He's a little bit of Bob Balaban that I think of.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just like, oh my God, you're adorable. And you do so little to make that happen.
Well,
yeah.
and he plays
effortless.
along too, which I think is so great. Like the first time we see his mother bring in a woman, who just dropped by,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Bet you 10 seconds, the words drop by are gonna happen."
They all count down as a
yeah.
family.
Yeah, they all like a good 10, 9, 8, and they just like jump into it. But immediately the dad's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I agree. Let's see."
Yeah,
And sure enough.
You told me she wasn't going to have any. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. It's great. Yeah, no, he's
Always with the comedy.
Yeah.
always with the
Mom, I made that one especially for you.
Pass the salt. You give when your family's not speaking to you, cue cards.
Yep.
That's the way to go.
You really can't go wrong with cue cards.
Oh, okay. So the actress that played Emily Zoe,
Yep. Zoe Kazan.
she evidently inadvertently fell asleep in a few of the coma scenes and would ruin a take by waking up in the middle of the shot.
Oh, that's funny. I did not know that.
So, I mean, you feel like there's a safe space if you get that comfortable. that you fall
Sure.
asleep.
Well, I mean, if you're lying in a bed.
And
Pretending to be
that's-
asleep.
on a set there are these very
Long.
long.
How many takes? And you could
Takes.
be totally into it
And
for
if
the
we're-
first 5 takes.
If you're doing a new setup, I mean, and I'm assuming being a smaller film like this, they might just stay there instead of
Like a stand-in.
you go and we'll have a stand-in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
for lighting.
So
Well,
you know
other
what?
than-
I'm comfy. I'll just
Yeah.
I'll just stay here.
Yeah, but she is so good in this film, and she is just fabulous. I love all the quirks. It's just it's a really nice to see a rom-com with a leading lady that is quirky, that is fun, and she just seems very genuine. It's not like she's, you know, the standard of, you know, I have to look beautiful in all these shots at all. She's real.
So engaging just watching her on screen, because there's so much going on.
Well, and they had said we watched an interview with Emily,
The real Emily,
the co-writer of the script, and a person who actually was being sick. She said it was like, you know, they saw lots of actresses, and it was Zoe from the get-go that they knew that it was going to be her. And I also heard that Zoe watched a lot of footage of Emily before, you know, hand to kind of get the idea of the feel of the character from, you know, the real gal.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I really want to encounter the first film where we have, like, you know, a writer, director, producer, something say, and like, no, they were actually our last choice.
Right. They just wouldn't share
Like,
that.
No, but I want to hear it.
Last ditch effort.
Yeah, it's just
No,
like,
no.
we hated every actor, or we loved every actress before this person. None of them they were all busy, so we were just like,
we're
no,
just
we'll
trying
just
to
do this
shave
person.
a few million off of
Colin
Colin
Farrell's.
price tag.
Yeah. Kiss bang bang.
Oh, I
Red
love that
movie.
movie.
Bear.
Oh yeah, we
Bar-
gotta poke the bear. My God,
My God.
what have we thought of?
The thing to notice about this movie is that the majority, an overwhelming majority of the people, the critics that reviewed this film, really liked it because
They
it
have
has
taste.
a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
It's just not
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
It's very hard, and so very difficult to find people who didn't like this film. However, at the Sacramento News and Review, who I have mentioned, I believe, before, they say
Chicago Reader, but
they say
we have a turf war with Chicago,
Chicago
Reader.
Reader. Except for, you know,
Oh my
one
God,
that
we
they
never
liked it.
mentioned this movie takes place in Chicago.
yeah, we did not talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a huge part
It
of the
doesn't.
film.
No, it
It's
doesn't
just
showcase
so-
Chicago at all.
Just so happens to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to know which hospital is ranked 17th. I'll be like, let's not go to that hospital.
John's gonna look it up. Sacramento News and Review says at 119 minutes long, it may be too much of a good thing. I have rarely been so aggravated by such a funny and heartwarming film.
It's a cry for
How
Too much of a good thing.
Right. I've
Frustrating.
been aggravated with like
Goodness, like
right. I'm so aggravated that this movie is so good. So I hate it. Okay, here's another one from the New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Sick suffers from an excess of pleasantness, and this very pleasantness thins out its substance, blands out its tone, weakens its comedy.
I'm going to use the rule of threes on this one. It's going to be so good.
I just love how all of these critics have been more like, I'm upset with how good it was. Like,
I can't even say that it was bad because it was so good.
Okay, so this last one is from the National Review. There are some sweet early scenes establishing the characters' rapport, but Gordon and Nanjani are so enamored of the stand-up comedy world that it takes nearly 40 minutes for an actual conflict to be brought up.
you have to establish and actually make any sort of relationship and put that on the line
And the relationship is
already
conflicted in the
conflicted.
beginning.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on that are conflicting in the beginning. You see early on the problems that are inevitably wrong with his family life.
Yeah.
The fact that the two of them don't want to be in a relationship together.
Sometimes-
the 2-day rule.
They don't want to be in a relationship, not necessarily in a relationship together. That clearly is the issue. They want to be in a relationship together, but they don't want to be in a relationship. Display's personality says, this isn't a bad movie per se, but it is an extremely frustrating one that left me longing for the days when rom-coms weren't structured like The Return of the King.
Wow. How many endings did this person find? There was not nearly enough running.
There's a
Where's
lot
the
more plot.
comparison? I don't understand.
There wasn't 15 endings. And I loved Return of the King, so this person could go suck on that. But
Nobody's finger got bit off.
nobody fell into a giant volcano.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We greatly appreciate all of our listeners for choosing this podcast, despite our drunken ramblings, and especially for supporting independent films. So keep an ear out for our next episode, and to check out our show notes or to just drop us a note, please visit us at imbibcinema.com. Once again, I'm Jonathan C. Leggett, and thanks for imbibing with us. Cheers.